Okay. Great. Good, good. Um, this is our fourth public forum. And so we're glad to be able to catch you up to date and show you what's going on. We have a presentation for you with some videos that I think you'll enjoy about how the lighting on the bridge might look. And the mayor is going to be here in a few minutes to give us a word of greeting. And I've asked Pastor Culliver if he would just come and say a word as we get started tonight. Pastor Otis Culliver.
Thank you. I don't know if I call you Pastor,
Mike is good.
um, Mike, for this opportunity to just greet you. So first, let me just say on behalf of Historic Tabernacle Baptist Church, we greet you. We're happy to have you here in our sanctuary this evening for this grand occasion, as we are excited about what the Lord is doing in Selma by way of lighting up our city. And we want there to be light in Selma, not just with the electric lights, but we want the spiritual lights of Selma to shine bright. Because if there's ever a time that we need Selma to shine bright, it is now, not just for the sake of the citizens of Selma, but for the world. I believe that Selma has a mandate to be a model for what true community can look like and what it looks like for people to come together and work toward the common good. That's been our history in the past, and I believe this is what God is calling us to now. So thank you again for being here tonight, and thank you for allowing us to host you for this evening.
Thank you, Pastor. And we do have some people that have been a part of this project and have played a big role since the beginning. We started working on this project in 2017, so it's been almost 6 years. And we have Ann Strand here tonight. She and Alan were instrumental at the very beginning when we first had Ken Douglas come and visit Selma for the first time and help us to understand the possibilities. Can you all hear me okay? All right. And so thank you, Ann, for being here. And Lydia is upstairs. She's helping us with the live feed tonight. But Lydia has played a key role. She and I were co-chairs of the economic design team for TRHT, and that was a big player in all of this happening. And I know there's other people here that have played a role along the way, and we're so glad and so grateful that you're all here. Hope you did sign in. Give us your email. We're starting our new email list, and so please sign in and do that. We have Linda Lowry here. Linda's on our board for Lighting Selma, and of course, she's had a huge role in this whole thing. And the foot soldiers, we have some foot soldiers here. Loretta Wimberly's here, and they've also been our advisors and help get things going in this project. So I want to maybe take the time to introduce our team. They have come from New York and Baltimore and Washington to be with us. We had a meeting today in person with Alabama Department of Transportation in Montgomery because, as you know, AlDOT owns the bridge, and so everything that happens with the bridge has to be approved by AlDOT. They're not, this is not their project. This is our project, but everything has to be approved, of course, by them. And so we had a good meeting with them this morning, and now they're here with us tonight to have this presentation. So first, we have Ken Douglas. This is Ken's, we can't remember if it's his third or fourth time to be here. We had the first public forum virtual because it was during COVID, so it was a live feed. But he's been here for the last two in person. So you might recognize Ken. He's been here a few times. He is the senior principal at HLB Lighting Design Company, and his office is in New York. And then we have beside him Luis Carrasquillo Alicia. And he is senior lighting designer at HLB Lighting. And we're so glad to have you here, Luis. And he's going to be a big part of the presentation tonight. And we have Susan Bupp. Susan is the Senior Cultural Resources Specialist for the Parsons Corporation. And she's an anthropologist, and she's helping us meet all the requirements for ALDOT, for Historic Commission, National Park Service, all those people that have an interest. She's the one that's helping us and doing all the environmental studies and all those type things as well. Thank you for being here, Susan. And Dubar India Bahika. And Dubar is the senior bridge engineer for Parsons Corporation. So did you notice we have all these seniors from these? I think we've got the best possible team for this project. I honestly do. And seeing them at work today was magnificent in the presentation to ALDOT. So they will each be piping in and sharing some things as we go along in the presentation tonight. Hey, Randy. That's Randy Williams. Glad to see you, brother. All right. So since the mayor, has the mayor arrived? Okay. Well, since he's not arrived, let's go ahead and start the presentation, if you would like to do so. So Ken, I'll turn this over to you.
So good evening, everyone. First and foremost, a big thank you to Mike. None of us would be here if Mike wasn't making this happen. This week here is my fourth time in Selma, and you guys have been awesome every time I've been here. You've welcomed us with open arms, and it's really, you make us all feel like we're part of the family when we come. So thank you so much. It's been a little bit of a reflection on this trip, which has been interesting. Mike started this when he rang my phone out of the blue about 4 years ago and said, I have a bridge I want to light, and can you help me? And because we do lots and lots of bridges, that's part of what our practice is, and part of what my specialty within our practice is the lighting of bridges. And we've come back this time, and he has his nonprofit formed. He's collected donations that are in the bank. He has business cards. He has flyers. There's a whole industry that's rising up around lighting this bridge, all driven by Mike. And so I really owe him a debt of thanks for getting us all involved. This has been a wonderful experience for me personally, and I think we're on the path to delivering you guys something really special with the bridge. I'm not going to do a lot of the talking today for a change, because we have this great group here and it's their first time in Selma. And so we're going to let them walk you through the project, explain what's up, and then we'll do some questions and answers afterwards. So we're going to start off with Luis. As Mike said, Luis is a senior designer with my firm. He has been my lead on this project day to day, so he knows the ins and outs and has been contributing. You're going to see a lot of beautiful visuals in a minute, and they're all his handiwork. So please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you, Ken, for the intro. Like Mike mentioned, my name is Luis, and I'm a senior designer at HLB, and I've had the pleasure of working on this project since 2020, when we really dove into the design for it. And we wanted to give you an update of where we're at, updates that we've made since you last saw us, and our next steps into making this project a reality. There we go. So to kick us off, we'd like to go over the project goal that we've had as our North Star throughout this whole process, which has been to design and execute a world-class dynamic lighting system for the Edmund Pettus Bridge that serves three purposes. The first is to highlight the relevance of this location for the efforts made towards voting rights in this country. The second is to honor those who were involved and were instrumental in having all those gains for voting rights. And the third is to create a new economic driver for the city of Selma, so it becomes a new destination for people who come into the town. So Last time we were here was, I believe, November 2021. So you may be wondering what we've done since we were last here. So we wanted to give you an update. For starters, we got our first round of the historic preservation packet complete, which is a report that Susan and her team have developed and summarizes all of the historic preservation concerns, such as effects on daytime visuals, concealment of the fixtures, how it's going to affect any wildlife, all these elements that affect historic preservation and its integration into what the bridge is. She covered, and that's a report that we hope to issue out to relevant parties in the coming weeks once we implement comments from this morning. In addition to that, we have developed all of the lighting control system documentation, which is all the technical stuff that will allow the bridge to have the beautiful scenes that you've seen before. And we have, on that note, also updated all of our scenes. So last time we were here, we got some comments from all of you beautiful people, and we got some comments from other design team members about how to improve the scenes or how to change them altogether. And so we've taken that feedback and applied it to the concepts that we're going to show today. In terms of review, feedback, and cycles, we met with ALDOT and we submitted our conceptual package last summer. After submitting the conceptual package, we got feedback from ALDOT last fall. And that feedback was addressed via emails, virtual meetings, and as of this morning, an in-person meeting where we discussed all the technical stuff that they want to figure out before they give us the final green light for the project. In addition to that, we have gathered support letters. So Lighting Selma has probably reached out to several of you who are involved in the local organizations about signing a support letter, and that support letter is helping us show to ALDOT that the community is invested in the project and wants the project to move forward. And last but not least, we've worked on a memorandum of understanding, which we typically refer to as an MOU. So you may be asking, what's an MOU? So an MOU is essentially a contract between ALDOT and Lighting Selma that lays out who is responsible for what. So in this case, who's responsible for providing the fixtures, who's responsible for paying the utility bill at the end of the year, who's responsible for maintaining the fixtures in the long run. All those terms are laid out in that memorandum of understanding. Reverend Lewis has been working with Lighting Selma's lawyer, Harry Gamble, over the last few months to fine-tune the memorandum of understanding so that we can make sure that ALDOT feels comfortable with the agreement, but also that the final terms and conditions are favorable such that Lighting Selma can support this bridge lighting system for years to come. So you also may be wondering, what has the design team kept as a priority when designing the lighting for this bridge? What things do they consider important? What items are relevant as we add fixtures, don't add fixtures, or add covers or whatnot? So to go over this, I will pass the baton to Susan Bupp, who will go into this a little bit more. So Susan. Oh, okay.
Good evening, everyone. So the design considerations, am I behind? Did you click it? Historic preservation is critical. This is a National Historic Landmark. This is a National Register listed property. Oh, this is an iconic structure. This is globally known. So there is a lot of things to consider before we do anything on this bridge. So the three major historic preservation issues that I saw were physical integrity, to protect the bridge, to minimize any damage to it, to keep it intact for as long as we can and protect it. That also included taking a look at any kind of maintenance issues that we could incidentally create with the lighting, and making sure that there's access for the ALDOT inspectors to go in and do what they need to do. So that was the first thing that we were looking at. The second thing is looking at the visuals during daytime. How does the bridge look during the day? When people come and walk across the bridge, what is their vision of what they see and what they remember from the photographs? We want to have lighting be as unintrusive as possible so that their experience is what they expect it to be, for what they remember it should be. So we take a look at being on the bridge and looking at where the lighting could go, as well as looking from different view sheds from the bridge tender's house, from the Riverview Park, to see, okay, from those distances, are we going to be able to see light hanging down from the bottom of the bridge? We need to look at what are the visuals from different distances. Is it going to be something people are going to go, oh, look, there's something hanging under the bridge? Or is there a way to tuck it up under there, achieve the lighting goals, and maintain the visuals? The third thing is the nighttime view. How is the lighting going to reflect and be focused or aimed? I learned about aiming schedules with this project. It's really cool. Into the city. You have historic districts here. We do not want to flash lights into the city. We need to look at how the existing lighting works, the Cobra headlights that are on the bridge, your beautiful historic lights that you have along Water Avenue, and how those lights affect the city itself, and then how our lighting on the bridge contributes or is an ambient, more of an ambient lighting into the city. So we need to look at how we focus the lighting for the bridge onto the bridge and not into the city. We will have reflection on the river. I took some amazing photos of your bridge this morning with the fog, and the light was perfect, and I actually got the reflections. So what I was seeing were circles. Absolutely, I mean, it gives me chills. And I kept taking pictures because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was so amazing. So we will have reflection off of the river. So those are the three main historic preservation issues that I'm most concerned about, is finding an adequate compromise that works for the lighting, that protects the bridge, but gives us the result that is going to be acceptable to everyone. So this is a privately funded project. I am used to dealing with projects that have a federal agency in charge. So this is different for me. We don't have a federal agency. This is your project. So Section 106 of the National Historic Preservation Act, which I live and breathe for decades, does not apply. But yet we're dealing with an iconic structure. So we have reached out and identified historic preservation stakeholders, people who are completely invested in this bridge, who care about this bridge, who have agreed to review and comment, provide input on how we are approaching those historic preservation concerns that I mentioned in the last slide. We're doing quite a bit to try to look at that logically, but that historic preservation stakeholder group is going to help us fine-tune probably things that I haven't thought about, that we haven't thought about, or they'll be able to say, whoa, that's good. But that's what I'm excited about is next, is to get that historic preservation packet out to folks so they can take a look at it and think about it. What else needs to be done? What else needs to be considered? So I'm ready for the brain trust. So I'll be revising the packet hopefully in the next couple of weeks. Luis?
Thank you, Susan. So with all that in mind, we started designing. And in case you haven't seen some of the couple of slides we'll see next, we'll talk about what our tools of light are for highlighting the beauty of the Edmund Pettus Bridge. So our design consists of highlighting three architectural elements of the Edmund Pettus Bridge. The first is the iconic arch coffers, which you see as you drive through the bridge. The second is the concrete posts along the edge of the roadway, which we typically refer to as balustrades. And the third is all of the piers and columns underneath the roadway, which we typically refer to as a substructure. So those are the three elements that we're focusing on as we light up the bridge. How are we doing this? Great question. So we're lighting up the arch coffers and the balustrades with linear color changing fixtures, which will be aimed appropriately to light up the relevant surfaces. And then for the substructure, we will have adjustable round floodlights, which will be aimed so that we can wash the piers and columns underneath the road. For the arch coffers, we will have two fixtures at each corner of the coffers that will light out and light the vertical faces of the coffers and highlight the beautiful shapes that these create. And all of these will be located inside a metal assembly, which you can see on the top right in the slide. And this metal assembly will slide into the corners. And the idea is that it is as easy to install as possible for the contractor who will actually do the installation process. And we will use this not only for the installation, but also to reduce direct views of the fixtures. So that's why we have that curved door that you can see on the drawing on the top right. That door will reduce direct views of the fixtures during the day, but it will also allow for easy access of the back corners for ALDOT's maintenance in the future. Next up, we have the balustrades. So for these guys, we have one fixture per balustrade, and similar to the arch coffers, we will have a three-sided metal shield that will conceal direct views of the fixture during the daytime. And these will have holes on the sides or higher openings so that water can drain through and the fixtures don't accumulate any debris or humidity with the passage of time. Lastly, we have the substructure. And for these, we'll have floodlights of two different sizes that will be mounted with metal hardware to the existing structure and will be aimed towards the relevant elements that we're trying to highlight. So we talked about our tools of light, things that we have at our disposal to make this bridge glow at night. Now let's talk about the fun stuff, which is the light scenes that you will see throughout the year as we programmed it afterwards. So throughout most of the year, you will have a static white light scene, which will play with the exception of the dates that we'll highlight next. And this static white light scene will have, again, we'll cover those three elements and we'll have adjustments so that the brightness of the elements is adequate. And then for the rest of the year, we'll have or for the rest of the days that we highlight, which are either local events or events that we want to commemorate, we'll have special scenes that have a dynamic quality to them. The first four scenes in this list, which are Bloody Sunday, Turnaround Tuesday, March Day, and Juneteenth, have a day-specific scene, which is going to play one day of the year, whereas the other four, which we'll go over, which are Waving Flag, City of Selma, Foot Soldiers Tribute, and the Unity scene, all of those can be used at your discretion. So they can be used on multiple occasions throughout the year for different events. The City of Selma scene, which we showed back in November 2021, has been updated. It used to use a color palette that was not preferred by the audience that attended that public forum. So we've updated the concept and the color palette to better reflect a more encompassing concept. And since our last meeting, we've created two new scenes, which are the Foot Soldiers Tribute and the Unity scene. So we wanted to give you a quick look of the all-white scene. So this is the look that you would have for the bridge at night when all the sources are at static white. And one thing that we discussed earlier today during the meeting and afterwards is that the shade of white will probably be on the cooler side because the current paint of the bridge is like a powder light blue. So we want to make sure that the white that we select complements the finish that we have right now for the bridge. Okay, so now we're start looking at the dynamic lighting scene videos. So a couple of notes I want to make as we go through the videos is these are sped up versions. So these are very short videos. They're about a minute long. but the real transitions will occur anywhere between 2 to 4 minutes. But since we have 8 videos, I didn't want to keep you here for 28 minutes watching videos. So we are showing you a sped up version for the sake of time. And the other thing I want to point out is that we have picked preliminary colors, but the final color selection will be fine-tuned during the commissioning process, which is the process in which the programmer will come in and actually set up the lights to show the concepts that we're showing. When that first pass is done, then we'll review with the relevant stakeholders, and then the final colors can be selected. So without further ado, let's look at the first scene. This is the Bloody Sunday scene, which will play every year on March 7th. So for this scene, we will start with, and I don't know if the video is playing. There should be a little play button that we can, yeah. There we go. Thank you, Crystal. So for this scene, and oh. So if the PowerPoint is not working, we can go to, you can exit out of the PowerPoint and we can go into the OneDrive. I think I have the videos there, if you would like to try that. If you go back to the parent folder before this one, there should be a scene concept videos. And they should be in order, so we can just start with the first one. Thank you, Crystal. Can you try and check the PowerPoint? Because it might work now that you set up media player. Maybe if it's embedded in the PowerPoint, it'll play a little better. Interesting. Well, while we troubleshoot this, I can talk about the scenes in the meantime. Okay. Does anyone have any questions before I discuss the scenes verbally while we trouble this out? Any questions on what we've presented so far? Mm-hmm. Sure. Sure. Yep, of course. So we have a couple of scenes that we created that can achieve this, can be used for this. So we have what we're calling the waving flag scene, which we would recommend using for any patriotic related holidays, such as 4th of July, Memorial Day, Veterans Day. If you have a local election, then you can use that scene for that. We will also have a City of Selma scene, which can can be used for essentially local events. Any local event that you want to highlight, you can use that scene for that day. And we will also have a unity scene, which is, again, a scene that you can use at your discretion for any special occasion.
And a couple of these scenes, as he mentioned, were actually the result of suggestions that came from previous public forums. I just wanted to take a moment to welcome our mayor, who's joined us today. Thank you so much. And would you like to just say a word of greeting to the folks? Thank you for being here.
Reverend Lewis is using me to filibuster to kill some time, so see if he can get this fixed. Pastor Culliver, always good to be in the house of the Lord. Tab, all ministers of the gospel, everyone present. It's just good to be here. Reverend Lewis and I have talked about this for a long time. It's been over 2 years. And when he first came and talked to me about it, my first reaction was, here we go again, you know, and but he ended the conversation by saying, I didn't come to ask for anything. I don't want the city to do anything. I'm going out. I want to do this. And I said, I support your effort. And amazingly, he went from Selma to New York, pulling together resources to get this project done for Selma. So I say, let's give him a round of applause. Yeah. Yeah. I think it is an amazing project for our community, and I'm excited about it, and I'm just thankful that we're here to this point. And I got to tell you, in the meetings that I've been in, and we've talked about planning this, folks, we've even talked about what illumination attracts bugs. You know, the love bugs on the bridge. We've talked about all of these things, and they have been actually doing scientific research on all of these issues that we know are real-time issues on the ground here. And so I want to just thank you again. Did I take up enough time? Y'all got it ready yet? I can go ahead and pull a text and but no, I just wanted to say that and just thank you very much.
Thank you so much. And, you know, thank you for all the credit you've been giving me, but this was always a whole project involving a lot of people. I was just kind of the guy cheerleading, you know, and saying, let's keep going. And so there's been a lot of people that have been a part of this that deserve credit for it. And it's been a wonderful project for me personally to work on, because I've got to meet so many people, work with so many people. And so our goal, he mentioned the goals to highlight the importance of the foot soldiers and their accomplishments to the passing of the Voting Rights Act and all those things. And so that's key. But we want this lighting installation to be something that all of Selma can be proud of, that we can all have ownership in. You know, we've had bad news in Selma, tornado, all those things. Sometimes, as you know, Selma gets bad press. So we want the bridge lighting, to be something that all of us can feel great about. And when we talk to people outside of Selma, have a great deal of pride. And when they see it, you know, on videos and in social media and on television and all those places, we want them to have a positive view of Selma. And the mayor's been so supportive, and I really appreciate it. City Council as well have voted to support the project. So, you know, this is something that I believe the timing was right. You know, I think we were ready. And so when the idea came, people said, oh yeah, we need to light the bridge, you know. And so it's been a good project in that way. Do you need more time? Okay, let's go. All right. All right. Would somebody from the team like to address it?
Yeah.
That's a great question. Oh, would you repeat the question?
Oh, yeah. So the question was about painting the bridge, and I'm guessing how that interacts with the project. So while Lighting Selma would not be responsible for the painting itself, that would be something that ALDOT would still be in charge of. Part of that memorandum of understanding would highlight and would detail out painting guidelines once the fixtures are up. So it clearly states out methods of painting that are preferred to reduce the damage on the fixtures and the metal covers, as well as ALDOT's and Lighting Selma's line of communication. So we are asking ALDOT that whenever they plan to paint the bridge, that they notify Lighting Selma so that efforts can be coordinated between the two parties. Mhm. Correct.
Yeah, and I want y'all to all be clear that ALDOT, the Alabama Department of Transportation, owns the bridge, and they're responsible for all the maintenance on the bridge, including painting, any repairs, all that sort of thing. We will be responsible for the lights that we're putting on the bridge. So we'll be responsible for maintaining the lighting installation, the bulbs, the cables, all that sort of thing. So that's how we're working in partnership. They will have their role to play and we will have ours. And they're very clearly defined in the memorandum of understanding that we've been working so hard on. So when it comes to issues of like, will the bridge be painted? When will the bridge be painted? That's up to ALDOT. Yeah. So, yes, ma'am. Well, that's what we're working through right now. We have steps that we're taking in the process. And so one of the things you can imagine, one of the things Alabama Department of Transportation is very concerned about is that they want to make sure that if we put the lighting installation on it, then we're going to maintain it. Because we don't want to put it on the bridge and then all of a sudden bulbs start failing. It doesn't look as pretty anymore, or things come loose, you know, things like that. And I totally understand that. We don't want that either. So that's why they're being very careful to make sure that we cross all the T's and dot all the I's and make sure we know who's responsible for what. And we're raising the funds to make sure we have enough money to pay for the maintenance going forward. And that's a part of what we're doing as a Lighting Selma organization. You want to address the, will Alabama Historical Commission get a copy of the packet?
No. This morning's discussion was just to kind of iron out some technical issues. The stakeholders slide is we're including Park Service, Historical Commission, Advisory Council. We have local groups, local museums, private individuals. So I've got a wonderful range of historic preservation stakeholders that I am so looking forward to the input on that. But yes, anybody who wants to weigh in on how we're dealing with protecting the bridge, I'm all for it. I can't wait to hear ideas.
This past week, I've actually been looking at the lighting downtown, and just last night was downtown looking at the lighting on Water Avenue and Broad Street with Alabama Power, and I actually learned something. That there are actually some power light poles on the corner of Water and Broad that are not Alabama Power poles. They're actually the Alabama Department of Transportation light poles, and they're not burning. And so we're working on getting all of those lights turned on because I want to make sure that you see the full effect of the lighting that's in place to see how it will affect, or if it will affect, the display. Just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, right now, when you're driving up Broad Street at night towards the river, you don't really see the bridge. You know, it's pretty dark. You just kind of see blackness in front of you. once the bridge is properly lit, when you're driving up Broad Street, that bridge is going to be beautifully illuminated. It's going to enhance all of us, how we feel about our city, how it looks, especially at night. So we're very excited about that. Did you want to say anything about that? Okay.
So just jumping off your point, I think this is my first time here, which has been amazing. But I think the lighting system will definitely help reveal the beauty of the bridge. Like, there's no question that this is an iconic and beautiful bridge, but you don't get to appreciate it as much during the evening hours. So we're hoping that the solution that we're proposing helps just bring it to the forefront. Bring it to the forefront because we get to enjoy it during the day. Might as well do it at night as well. Yeah. So the usual, like the everyday scene, with the exception of special events, will be white. We might slightly adjust the coolness or warmth of the light based on what layer it is, because we have different finishes. We have like the metal arch, we have the concrete substructure, so it may be slightly adjusted, but for the most part, it would be a static white most of the days. We would only introduce color when we have the special scenes. Yeah. Yes, yeah. All the fixtures that we're introducing in the project have the capability of full white or saturated color selections. Yes.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to show you right now. I think you're going to like the scenes the way they are shaping up. Yeah. Can you tell I'm feeling down? Do you have input or suggestions or thoughts about the lighting that you'd like to express? Mhm. Oh, yeah. Mhm. Right.
Sure.
Right. Yeah, I think once you see the scenes, you'll understand that there are many other scenes that can be used for all different kinds of occasions. Yeah. Good point. Mhm.
Sure.
That's right. We knew that was going to come up. um, we can't give so many things depend on not us. Because we have documentation. Then after that, this is
Yeah. This is part of the next steps discussion. So the first step, once we implement all the comments from this morning, is to issue the historic preservation packet that Susan and her team will revise over the next few weeks. And after that, we'll get feedback from all the historic preservation parties, put it into our design concept. And once we put it in, we'll finalize all of our documentation as well as all the relevant forms for ALDOT to approve. Afterwards, we'll submit all of that to ALDOT, and they will review it, and they will give us the green light to move forward. And after that, we would then sit down and draft what we call a request for proposal, or RFP, which is the official document that we would issue out to contractors to bid for the project. And then we would, then Lighting Selma would pick a contractor that would carry out the project. So that's our timeline, or our next steps for the project.
parts will have to be. That will take a period. All the lighting on. So it's still a ways out. What we're going to happen with it. But beyond that, we're working a pace. I want you to know that this team has been meeting every week by Zoom. Is it 3 years? Where are you? Oh, he's up there. At least through the pandemic, but I think we were even doing it before. But they've been meeting, we've been meeting as a team, me from here, them from Washington area and New York, every week since we've been talking about this. So the work that they have done is just amazing. And we had a meeting with Aldot today. All these guys are engineers, architects. I don't even know what they're talking about. I'm just sitting there like, wow. But just the technical issues that have to be, dealt with. They know where every screw is, what kind of screw, how it's going to be attached, where the cables are going to be running, where the power is going to come from. I mean, there's all those things that go into a bridge light. But once it's lit, you won't be thinking about that. You'll just be thinking about how great it looks. One of the things, though, is Susan has helped do all the research about how the lighting will impact wildlife, fish, river, love bugs. That was a question that the mayor had, was how will the lights affect the love bugs? Because we all know about the love bugs on the other Texas Bridge, right? The willow flies. So she has actually documentation because she's done the research on how this will impact. And did you know, she's got it in her hand, did you know that one of the things that attracts these bugs is not light, actually, it's the fumes from the cars. And so, Susan, am I telling the truth? So
That's why they love highways.
yeah, that's why they love places like the bridge. It's because of the fumes from the thing.
Oh, got a question.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Hey, Uncle. Can everybody hear her okay? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. Anka was just saying that when the lighting design and installation is ready, we want to be able to go ahead and do that without waiting for any particular dated event that might delay the lighting of the bridge. And just so you'll know, yes, for an extended period. These teams, HLB Lighting and Parsons, are doing all their work for us pro bono. But they are big corporations with a lot of other jobs to do, so they're not going to want to keep this job on their books a lot either. So there's motivation to keep moving to get this thing accomplished in a timely way. But that is a great point, and thank you for making it. Are we getting to a place? Okay. Not yet, okay. So do you have any other input or questions? By the way, this worked beautifully before you guys got here. It It was really great. Yeah, that's right. It was great in the rehearsal. Yes, sir. Did you have your hand up back there? Oh. Oh, okay. I thought I saw a hand. You know, I'm a preacher, so we look for hands raised in the congregation. Susan Youngblood is here. Glad to have you, Paula. Glad y'all are here. We have had so much positive. Oh, we might have it going. So much positive support for the bridge lighting. He mentioned we've been able to already raise some funds. And I just want you to know that all of the people that so far have given us money for the bridge lighting project have come to us and said, would you please apply to our organization because we would like to give you some money for the bridge lighting. We didn't have to ask them. We had to go through the process of applying once they invited us to do so, but we did, and we filled out all the paperwork and met their requirements, and they gave us money. So we're grateful that there's that kind of positive support for this project, not only in the Selma community, but in the nation at large. Ready?
I think we're ready to go. Okay. Thank you guys upstairs, and thank you all for your patience. So, this is the best kind of suspense you can buy for a production. I mean, come on. So, for this scene, which is the Bloody Sunday scene, we'll start with some blue-violet tones to mimic the night sky, and then we will have a golden light emerge from the Selma side, and it will move across the bridge, and it will be met against a deep blue light, which represents resistance, and it will push the golden light to the center of the archway. And when they meet at the center, a deep red will pour from the top of the archway and trickle down the different coffers, down to the balustrades and down to the substructure until the entire structure is lit in this deep red. And the deep red is used as a metaphor for violence and confrontation, which definitely took place during Bloody Sunday. And then we have that red hold in place until the end of the scene, at which point the bridge light would dim until it's turned off. One note about all of these videos that we're going to look at is that Lighting Selma has the ability to, or will dictate how often they play. So some of these will play every hour at the top of the hour, or they can play every half hour. That's to be decided towards the end of the programming process, but they will be played more than once. So it's not a single window of, oh, you missed it. You'll have multiple chances in one evening to see it. Okay, we can go to the next one, which is Turnaround Tuesday, which would play on March 9th. For this one, we would start with an unlit bridge, and we would have different segments pop up in white. So we would have substructure, balustrades, and then arches. After the entire bridge is covered in white, we would have a golden yellow light, again, emerge from the Selma side and move across the bridge, this time uninterrupted by the blue light. And it will keep moving across the bridge until it hits about 2/3 of the way, and it will stop. And this stopping of the light is a metaphor for how the marchers stopped and prayed. And it would hold for a few seconds, and then it will retreat back to the Selma side until the bridge returns to its white light condition. And once that occurs, then we would have the white light soften, so it would be a softer white, and that soft white look would hold until the scene concludes, and then it would end in a unlit state. Sure. So right now these are sped up, but these will be anywhere between 2 to 4 minutes in length, and the animation itself is about 4 minutes, but the states at which they last longer would be longer than 4 minutes. It would be, if we say this would be every half hour, then the main look would be on for 26 minutes of that half hour, and then the transition itself would be about 4 minutes. So, okay, so next up we have the March Day scene. So for this one, we would start with the end look for the Bloody Sunday scene, which is the deep red that covers all 3 layers, as you see on the screen right now. And then the balustrades, which is the lights that are on the concrete posts, would change from one end to the other, from red to white, one by one. So it would switch from red to white. And after all the balustrades are on white, then the entire structure would crossfade to a white look. And then the golden light this time would move from the bottom all the way to the top. And this is our metaphor for showing how the hope and resolve was the driver for a better future and a better tomorrow. And that's why we have the light going up. And then this golden light look would be the main look that would hold until the end of the scene, at which point we would dim it down, and then the scene would restart at the predetermined amount of time. Any questions or comments so far? Sure. Mhm. So surprisingly, the amount is roughly the same. So we have a fixture that has a maximum amount of wattage that it can consume, and that would be when all when all the channels or all the chips are on at full power. But from color to color, it will roughly be about the same. So even though there's more colors, from a cost point of view, it would be relatively the same. Yeah, of course. So next up, we have Juneteenth, which will play every year on June 19th. So this one is a little different. This one starts unlit, and we would have, from the bottom to the top, the layers will turn on in white. So we would have substructure, balustrades, and then the arch coffers until the whole bridge is lit in white. And then we would have groups of elements in the substructure and groups of elements in the coffers that will change from white to groups of red, green, and gold. And the reason we chose this color palette is because these are colors used in the Pan-African flag. And another prominent color in the flag is black, but in lighting, black is just a fixture that's off. So we chose gold. Until the bridge has a composition such as the one that you see here, which is a look that has red, green, and gold. And that would be the look that would hold until the scene restarts. So these are the 4 scenes that would play once a year. Now we're going to go into the scenes that you can play multiple occasions for other holidays. So the first one should be Waving Flag, or City of Selma. City of Selma, which you can use for any local events. And this one starts with a white look. And after a few seconds of white, you will have different colors that will trickle from the top of the arch and cover the entire bridge until you get 6 or 7 colors that will create a composition of colors that gradate across the length of the bridge. So as you can see in the video, you'll have orange, then you'll have a gold, then you'll have a green, blue, and then a few shades of purple and red at the top. And we kept the red at the top since we have so much red in the other scenes, we wanted to use something that used a different palette of colors. And so we introduced this as a scene that you can use at your discretion. Towards the end of the scene, the colors then would reverse, and for lack of a better word, and they would shrink towards the top of the arch until the entire bridge returns to its original state, which was that white. And once it reaches that, then it turns off at whatever time we decide to turn off the lighting for the day. So that is the City of Selma concept. Next up, we have the waving flag. So this one, the beginning of it is similar to the Juneteenth. So we would start with groups of white lights for each of the layers. So we would have substructure in white, balustrades, and arch. And then after holding this for a little bit, then the different elements would crossfade to a red, white, and blue look, which are colors from the flag, which have that patriotic element to it. And then once we have that composition of red, blue, and white, we would have a element that's a dimmed down light move across the balustrades. And then we would have dimmed down segments on the arch moving across the different coffers. And the idea is that this moving dimmed down element kind of is a metaphor for the movement of a flag on the wind. So this is a scene that we envision could be very useful for 4th of July or local elections or Veterans Day or Memorial Day. So next up, we have the Foot Soldiers tribute. So this one starts, and this one's a new scene. This one we haven't shown before, and this one starts all white, and then we have a gold yellow light move across. And similar to the previous scenes, this gold yellow is the hope and resolve that drove all the organization and all the organized events back in the 60s. This shade of gold is a little warmer, but there's a reason to that. And then after the entire bridge is covered in gold, the archways will turn into 3 rings in warm red, orange, and gold. And that was taken from the Foot Soldiers Park logo, which has those 3 arches. And we mimic that in the arches of the bridge. And after holding those 3 looks, the whole bridge will crossfade into a gradient of red, orange, and gold. And the idea is that even though at first you only have those 3 colors in the arches, that led to a much larger net of organizations and a much larger net of efforts, which is what we have today. And the idea is that we're telling the story of the Foot Soldiers was the genesis for all of these other movements that are now working towards a greater goal, which is improving voting rights as well as improving life here in Selma. So that is the Foot Soldiers tribute scene. And I think we have one more, which is the unity scene. This one is also a new one, which we created after receiving feedback last time. So for this one, we start with an unlit bridge, and then different groups for each of the layers will pop in with quote unquote random colors. Random if you see it at the first time, but the colors that we chose, which are white, yellow, sky blue, and green, were all colors taken from Selma's seal with like the butterfly and the arch and the sky. We took all those colors from that seal, and then once all the elements of the bridge are lit in those colors, then we'll have a cross gradient to this blue and purple look. And the idea of the purple is a metaphor for royalty, since Selma is the Queen City of the Black Belt, and so we wanted to incorporate that somehow. And we included blue because in a lot of contexts, blue is associated with loyalty, which we think is a key quality that led to the unity for which this scene stands for. And then after that gradient is displayed for the majority of the scene, then it will crossfade to black, and then the scene would restart. And I believe that's it. Those are the scenes that we have proposed for your lovely bridge. And since we talked about the next steps before all the videos, I guess I am opening now the floor for any comments that you have on the scenes. If there's any suggestions that you would like to present, please, this is the moment. Otherwise, thank you for your time. Thank you for showing up and for all the precious feedback you've given us. We are all so happy to be working on this and bringing this bridge once again to the forefront with this effort, and we hope we do it justice and give it as much love as as we know that you have for it. So thank you all. Sure. Mhm. Mhm. So how they are with the, we did not get too into those. We did not get deep into that because we were really focused on the mounting. But if we hear anything, keep informed. Okay. Okay. Yeah, we didn't get too deep into that. So wish we did though. So the control center for it will be maintained by Lighting Selma. That being said, this lighting for the bridge will be controlled by a computer system. So once it's programmed, it doesn't need to be physically switched on the days that it will change. It will have a calendar associated with it, so it will automatically change. The equipment will be located in a small closet that is underneath the Songs of Selma, and that closet will be weatherproof, or we will have a weatherproofed enclosure for the control rack so that it is in a hospitable environment that supports the electronics that control the system. Hope that answers your question. So, of course, we would take feedback from all of you in terms of what would be preferred, but the final call will be done by Lighting Selma and any other associates that they want involved in that process. I think you had a question as well. Oh, okay, perfect. Well, that works out then. Anybody else? We did. Well, if there are more questions, well, thank you all for your time. Thank you for coming here today.
Did you want to say anything? Okay. I was just asking Dubar if she wanted to say anything because she's such a key person doing so much of the actual engineering work and sketches and drawings and everything. If you just want to say a quick word, and then we'll close it down.
So I have the task of sort of some of the background work, how do we attach the lights without affecting the structural performance of the bridge? How one of the person on my team is an electrical engineer. So he is working on how we're going to provide power and data to the lights as well. So the meeting with AlDOT this morning was critical and kind of determined the direction we'll take on how the final plans will look. But, the key goal, as Susan mentioned, is we don't want to obstruct the view or how the bridge looks. So we're going to try to be as unobstructive as possible, but we also have to maintain whatever criteria AlDOT sets for us in terms of how they would like us to attach items to the bridge. So that's kind of my purview for this project.
Thank you so much. Thanks to the team. Let's give them another round of applause. It's so great to have them here, and I know you're as impressed with them as I am, aren't you? They're magnificent. And thank you for your participation. People keep talking about Lighting Selma. We're a new 501c3 nonprofit organization dedicated to the support of the installation and support of the lighting system. But I want you to know, we're a collaborative group. We want you to be a part of this. Give us your suggestion, your ideas, your feedback, your money. Oh, and by the way, you can go to lightingselma.org. It's on all your handouts. You can make a financial contribution online. So, and we are starting our updated email list through Constant Contact, thanks to some help from Angela. And with your permission, by giving us your emails, we're going to put you on our emailing list, okay? If you don't want to be on there, you can always click take me off. All right? Are we all good now? Let's stand. Thank you so much for being here, and God bless you as you go your way. Good night.